Hello and welcome. Welcome to Carnegie Mellon University. Welcome to the Tepper School of Business. Welcome to our new class, Business Science, that starts soon. And welcome to my family room, back room. It's the room I have adopted as my new pod to get us through the craziness it is 2020. I hope you have found a space to be, whether or not you are here in Pittsburgh, at home, on the moon. It's weird. We're all here. But welcome. It is good to see you. It's good to have you here. I'm glad you're here. So welcome. So what I wanted to do ahead of our orientation, to give you a couple things to look at, is I wanted to think for a moment about sort of why business science. Business science, not just the class that you all are going to take with me that we're going to explore together through the fall, but business science, the thing, which is this academic pursuit that you are embarking on for the next 4 years. Why are we doing this? What's the core for the reason? So I thought what we'd do is here think about why business science, and then we'll ponder a little bit about what that means, and then we'll figure out something to do that'll be fun when we get together in our hour. So to help sort of set that, let me think a little bit about our building. So this is the Tepper School of Business building, the Tepper Quad. It opened in 2018. Some of you might have come for a visit last fall and got a tour of our cool building. Some of you might be seeing it now when you're here on campus, when you get a chance to walk around in its new weirdness. I have not been back to it since I left in March, so I too am keen to get back. And those of you who haven't seen it in person yet, you will see it in person soon enough. So I had a chance to help sit in on some of the meetings that we're putting together the building. This was my suggestion, by the way, was to turn our atrium into a giant aquarium, which I thought would be cool. Apparently, people didn't like that idea. What are you going to do? So I guess I got overruled. But part of the discussions around the building was thinking about, not just building, some random bricks and mortar, but trying to build a spot, a place, right? Architects talk about placemaking, not buildings. And it sounds hokey when they first talk about it, but it's important in the sense if, you could spend a couple $100 million on a new building. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to get to? And so we spent a lot of time thinking about, the business school of the future, or the classroom of the future. So what does the classroom of the future look like? Right? And part of the question you're asking here is not just the classroom, but more generally, what do organizations do? What does it mean to be an organization? Right? The bigger question that won't be clear just yet, but we'll spend some time thinking about through the fall, is what is a business? Right? What defines it? What is it? Think about YouTube, Carnegie Mellon, Tesla. What is it? What's that connection of physical capital, people, organization structure, all the connections that are around it? What makes it a classroom? So, well, first of all, we're probably going to need some there we go. Let's see if we can. There we go. That seems to be better. I'm not too sure that special effect was really worth the effort, but here I am. Right. So what do we need? Clearly we need people. We need you. We need me. We need us. We need us to be together. What does together mean is kind of new in our new setting. And what's the purpose? And so this is what classrooms look like for a long time. And what I mean by for a long time is, they basically had students there, professors in the front, flapping away, So what does a classroom do, right? It looked like this for a long time. The big innovation in classroom was basically adding, some AV equipment, right? So we have TV, some slides. We can, do something like this. But this particular model has been changing for a long time now. And it's not just 2020 that has caused people to rethink, which is, what does the classroom of the future look like? It's clearly different. And the two things that I want to sort of touch on, one is this notion of what is a business, right? What is YouTube? What is Uber? When you think about the pieces, what parts belong to the legal company? What parts are part of their ecosystem? The walled garden that is the user group that surrounds them. How do those pieces all come together and fit together? And we'll ponder this, but we'll also ponder this very directly in the sense of, how do you and I build our community in this new setting? Right? How do we use these sort of new tools that are here? In some sense, my metaphor might be, maybe this is the new metaphor. Is we're just gonna do some Twitch streaming. Just off we go. We'll play a game. I've been watching a lot of Twitch streamers, and it turns out it's really hard to play a video game and also do a chat at the same time. That's the case. I don't know. Maybe Minecraft? Is that the setting? Uh-oh, apparently I died. Respawn. It's raining in my Minecraft at the moment. So how do we build this sort of sense of community, right? How do we sort of piece this together? And so one of the things we'll be doing is exploring a lot of these new tools that can come together. But this is also the question to have in mind as you and I try and figure this out. Every business is trying to figure this out, right? So, Airbnb, Yahoo, they're all sending emails out to their employees saying, maybe you don't need to come back to the office. Maybe we can do this virtually. Maybe that's big innovative. But it was only, 6-8 months ago that these people were also building buildings that had the world's greatest sushi, so that Google employees never had to leave, right? Google would do your laundry, so you never have to leave their business. Things are different. Is that real? Does that matter? How do you manage in this setting? And the second thing that's sort of related, and we're going to sort of try and blend these two things together and see if this comes out offering a grounding for us to make some discussion as we move forward, is thinking about, as you pause and think about the future, can you plan for a future that is so ridiculously uncertain? Right? So you don't have to motivate this in the sense of, how do you plan for the future? And, well, it's pretty highly uncertain. We don't know what is coming, right? In the sense, when we were thinking about the classroom of the future when building our new building, pandemics didn't come up, right? Putting a giant aquarium in the building came up, not a pandemic. How do you make these decisions? And this is part of sort of the core of what I think about as why business science, right? Why business science, and in contrast, and not business practice. So this picture that's here on this side is from Byte magazine. That's from, I think, 1981, and this was their computer of the future. And I love this image for so many reasons. Take a pick at it. It's so perfect, it's so ridiculous, right? So 1981 was a long time ago. They got the Apple Watch perfectly right, in the sense of, you are wearing a very powerful computer on your wrist. What did they get wrong? A little tiny keyboard with a little tiny screen, and that little tiny floppy disk that they're putting in there, right? So they had this sort of an image of a very small computer disk drive to stick in there. They didn't anticipate, voice to speech, Siri or whatnot. And so how does that relate to sort of thinking about business science? And so if you contrast business practice, so one way to sort of think about business education was, we could go look at the exemplars, Which businesses are really doing well right now? What are they doing? Right, that's a reasonable question to go ask, and we could argue a bit about whether or not, I don't know, Zoom is the business that's really kicking it right now, or whether or not Tesla's doing the right things with Splashdown, and we could ask what they do. Is there, how do they do it? But that doesn't really help us get ready for the next change, the next thing we can't see coming. So think about the science component of business science. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about business as a science, and we are going to think about being business scientists. So we don't have a lab coat on. I guess we used to wear suits and ties, but nobody wears suits and ties anymore. But we're going to sort of think about this from a science point of view, which is what are the underlying principles that are grounded in either theory or the underlying principles that are grounded in some empirical study or some data science that we can bring to bear. Because what we want to be able to do is unpack the core principles that transcend pandemics, zombie apocalypse, whatever is coming next. What are the underlying core that is there? And that's our goal of sort of business science, which is to take a tour through business from this lens of a scientist. So partly what we're going to do through the course of the first semester is touch on a whole bunch of different things, none of which are specific to any business or industry. We'll use a lot of examples, but what we're going to try and do is sort of build up what does it mean to ask this scientific question of business? What are the tools we have in place? What are the models we have? From what disciplines do they come? And we're going to look at, they come from the areas of economics, organizational behavior, or social, from organizational behavior, organization of behavior, and then operations research, or optimization. Those areas are going to blend together, and we're going to be able to make sort of scientific statements, or be able to frame scientific statements about business, which is going to help us build this sense. So if we bring back to what is, the classroom of the future, how do you build a community? How do you do things right? We can think about, how do you measure that? What is the goal we are trying to achieve inside our community? What is the goal we're trying to achieve inside our class? How would we measure these things? How do we test them? How do we build those systems? So what we'll do in our orientation is have a discussion to help sort of frame some of these, and then come September, we're going to dive in. So this was our first video. Two questions to try and ponder. I don't know if they got there to you, but let me be explicit with them. One is sort of why science? Ponder this. What does it mean to be scientific about business? And here, why do we want to be scientific about business? I think the answer to that, the short answer to that, is because the future is out there and we don't really know what's coming. Right? I cannot imagine a year in which it is easier to tell you, I don't know what's coming. And then the second thing that to ponder is, what is a business? Pick one. I don't know, YouTube, Tesla, and think about what it is. Right? What are the components of it? And what you will find for lots of them is the components don't line up inside a corporate legal structure just well. Right? What is our organization? And it's pretty fluid, interesting, and what we'll do is try and pick it apart from these different realms. All right, let me wrap up this video here. Thank you for your time. We will meet again soon. All right.
Working for the city.